Hey everyone, Dixie here, just doing a little bit of housekeeping before we start the episode. If you followed the Monday Meeting blog, you probably saw that today's episode was going to be mailbag number 3, Revenge of the Mailbagging, or whatever we were going to call it. Unfortunately, due to some technical errors, that episode got eaten by a grue, and so we only have part of it left. So we're going to re-record it next week. We're going to do a little bit of an extra long thing, hopefully, because it is our 150th episode. In the meantime, this is a short episode that Eddie and I recorded about a week ago of just kind of talking about random topics. It's kind of our mailbag to each other. And at the end, I'm going to tack on something that was salvageable from the mailbag episode, which is a rant that Matthew said he may not have the strength to do again about the South Korean drama TV show Vincenzo. So please stick around after the episode for that, because I think it's worth listening to. Why not? I love Matthew. Let's give him his, chunk. Thank you so much and enjoy the episode. Sorry, it's not what we said it was going to be. Welcome to the Onyx Pathcast. I'm this week's host, Dixie Cochran, here with Eddie Webb.
Hello.
Eddie Webb.
Yes, still me.
Just Eddie Webb.
Just me.
And me.
I am everything. I am all. I am entirety.
Also, there may or may not be a ghost in my apartment, so you might hear that at some point. There were also screaming children earlier, so this could be an interestingly full lead episode of the Pathcast.
We are nominally a creator of horror games, so I suppose that's thematically appropriate.
They weren't screaming out of terror. They were like riding scooters.
Oh, well, you just said like there's ghost and screaming children, so I assume those two were connected.
There's the ghost. There's the ghost. It just happened.
Ooh.
So, yeah. No, it happened. I can see it on the waveform.
Right now we sound like a paranormal podcast. It's look at the waveform. You can hear the.
That said, this is going to be a pretty free-form episode. It's just Eddie and I. Mm-hmm. We have some small topics to chat about. Mm-hmm. Some of them will be game-related. Some of them might not be. That's okay. So, the first thing, how about them moist talkers?
Oh, how about the moist talkers? Yes. Blaseball, the cultural sport of Blaseball.
Splort.
Splort, thank you.
Also the cultural event of Blaseball.
So in case it hasn't been increasingly clear, I am relatively new to Blaseball. So I'm still learning. I was a Chicago Firefighters fan until I made the realization they suck. So I've changed now to the Canada Moist Talkers.
But they are from Chicago.
They are from Chicago. That cannot be taken away from them.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Blaseball is an internet sport simulator that runs an entire season of a baseball type game with incinerations and people getting swept elsewhere and people getting put in giant shells every week. They're on siesta. Yes. No, they just come off siesta when this airs. Recording timing has also made me a liar in this case, in that Blaseball will be coming off siesta April 5th. So please tune in then if you're interested in joining us. Also, yes, I've gotten a better microphone. Thank you for noticing. But you can find all the good stuff at blaseball.com, and it is a free thing, and it is very silly. Mostly what's cool about it is the fandom and community that has sprung up around it. I am a Hellmouth Sunbeams fan. They used to be the Moab Sunbeams until they fell into a Hellmouth. And now they're the Hellmouth Sunbeams, which means they're very close friends with the Hades Tigers, considering that we share a domain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but a lot of fun to get into. There's betting, there's decrees, there's tarot readings. It is a whole lot.
So I got started mainly because some of Dixie's of the other developers had already been involved with it, and so I kind of got interested in it. And from a game design perspective, there's some really cool stuff happening in this game. It is ultimately, the genre is called idle games, where you don't really do anything. You watch the game iterate, and then you occasionally spend currency to change what's iterating.
Yeah, that's why it's a splort.
That's why I say yes. It's not actually a sport. Oh, thank you, Ghost. I'm glad you backed me up on this. Um, yeah, like Dixie said, basically, each hour is a game. So they just give you kind of the highlights, kind of like the sports ticker for a game, but like on fast forward.
Well, also each hour is several games because all the teams are playing each other.
Well, yeah, it's fair. That's fair. It's right. So one collection of games is played every hour. So I believe a season is something like 100 some days, which is about a normal sports season. And then you get coins, you place bets on teams, and those if you win, you get more coins. If you fail, you don't get coins.
Hmm.
You can spend coins on what are now called snacks, which are different kind of bumps. They were other things before, but
but now they're concessions
right.
because we voted to eat the book.
Yes.
About 2 seasons ago.
Oh god, no, longer than that. It was December.
It was season 11.
Yes, season 11.
But like we all voted to eat the book. But then we didn't eat the book. We eat the book because they changed it at the last minute.
Yes.
So the book is decreed that we get to eat.
And in case it's not clear, this is very much baseball by way of something like Twin Peaks or Welcome to Night Vale.
Yes, it is. It is very Welcome to Night Vale.
So it's horror comedy in ways. So like there are stats for each player, but they have stats like fingers, which aren't necessarily 10. It could be like several million.
Actually, everyone starts with 11 and then they go up from there. I think one of the players has 74 right now.
Right. And they have like preferred coffee type. And there was actually a mini season that went through all the players were rescheduled based on their coffee preference into new teams for like kind of like an all-star game style scenario.
Also, they all have a soul scream.
Yes.
That's a very important stat.
Which is a bunch of different vowels strung together. So, I mean, and what's interesting about this game is that, like Dixie mentioned, one of the things you do with coins is you buy votes. And at the end of each season on Sunday, they put a variety of rules changes or decrees or other ways to massage the way the game's played. And as far as we know, those changes are permanent. And also, we don't always know what we're voting for entirely. So like Eat the Book, we didn't know what the ramifications of that were when we were voting for it, but we voted for it, and that's what we got. We voted for. But also, like there are things like there was one decree that changed how runs are calculated, and so like for a while, if you got over 10 runs, it reset the counter to 0.
Yeah, that was fun.
Which caused me to lose way too many games in season 11. Let me tell you that.
Also, there were like runs that kind of for 0.3 like took away.
Right.
It's so much.
There some batters get more strikes than others. So it's bonkers out of bizarre. There are rules, but the rules are not always visible, and so it's an interesting exploration of not only implicit rules but also invisible rules. There certainly are games that exist where the players aren't always aware of all of the rules of the game.
Right.
Flux is a good example of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the rules change, and this is a much more complicated version of Flux in that respect. But like Dixie said, this is a game that lives and dies by its community, and luckily it has a generally fantastic community. Of course, with any large community of fans, you're going to get jerks. But
yeah.
Overall,
it's like rare though in baseball. Like there are a bunch of musicians that started recording music for the Seattle Garages, which is one of the teams.
Did they put an album out?
They have several albums out.
Okay.
They are very good too. Like I watched them do a live concert a while back, where they were just all in different, Zoom windows. Mm-hmm. That was very cool. But also, like, they surprised Jacob Burgess during Desert Bus with a concert.
Oh, wow.
And Jacob was like, I don't know what Blaseball is, but now I care about it. The Seattle Garages are actually a really good band, but they have, 50 members across the globe.
Yeah, and another thing is a lot of independent artists have started making merch for them. And initially, to avoid concerns, they started doing it for charity, but then they got the sanction of the game bands who makes the game, as long as that profits always go to charity. So now every weekend they have a Blaseball Cares is the website, and they constantly rotate their stuff, and so they shut it down during the week so that the artists can fill their commissions and make new stuff. And the weekend they open up kind of like a a bazaar or a weekend fair.
Yeah.
And you buy, and there's a lot of good stuff like, jerseys and jackets and caps, but also things like there's a book of baseball statistics that is out of print right now and I want to get a copy of.
I think I have the PDF because
Oh, I only
PDF's
saw
free.
I only found the physical copy on Lulu. And
I will find it for you because
Please.
the PDF is free. They released it for free.
So I want to check that out. But yeah, and then like I said, they have music up there. People make their own baseball cards of different players.
Yep. I've got a couple of Hellmouth Community College t-shirts.
Nice.
Because that's what we have in Hellmouth, apparently, as a community college.
Why wouldn't you?
Also, recently, one of my favorite players was incinerated. His name was Sutton Bishop.
Oh, Sutton Bishop got incinerated?
Oh, yeah, like 2 seasons ago.
Oh, geez.
He was a horrible goose with tentacles, who was actually the entirety of a pub called Sutton Bishop in England.
Right.
If that makes any sense to you, you are a better person than I am. Because I do not know how that works, but I love Sutton Bishop, and now he's incinerated.
There's an entire wiki that's chock full of information, and the community's actually very good about here's the official information we have from the game, which is like usually 4 or 5 lines top of the screen, and then there are pages and pages, which is and this is all fan canon. And sometimes the fan canon becomes official canon, and sometimes it doesn't. But because of the nature of the game as being kind of a somewhat silly, highly conspiratorial tone,
right?
The lack of information and the contradictions become part of the fun, which is interesting.
Yep. I love it.
There have been a few podcasts. None of them have been really great. I've listened to a couple of them, and they're kind of okay. But I think at some point in time, there will probably be a good. I would like to do a good, actually solid sports style recapping of baseball.
On Twitch, it's called the Sports Hub.
Oh, okay.
And I follow them, and they are great.
Well, cool.
That is where they do the inside a Blaseball chats.
Okay, right.
But yeah, the Sports Hub does really good recaps and things.
We'll have to check them out then.
Yeah. So that's a thing that a bunch of Onyx Path developers and other freelancers are into. It's a really good just simulation of a game.
Mm-hmm. And it's also fun because you can do the kind of dogmatic fan jokiness of my team's better than your team kind of stuff. But because everyone's in on the joke, it doesn't ever feel rude. I mean, there was a recently a controversy of cheating, and apparently things got really heated on because we have it set up so Discord has an announce feature. So if somebody's posting announcements, you can subscribe to that. And so we have a Blaseball channel on our dev Discord, and so I've subscribed to that. So every once in a while, we'll get these notes. And recently, it's been like in regards to the cheating controversy. I'm like, wait, what? There's a cheating controversy, and I thought it was part of the joke. And no, apparently, it was a real thing that was happening. It was a bug.
Yeah, there was a snack that you could buy that when you sold it back didn't go out of your inventory. So they could just keep selling that snack and get like millions of coins to go. Like most people don't ever have millions of coins. Usually you get like a few thousand. Like I think that one season I had like 60,000 at the end. And I got redistributed because one of the decrees is the 99%, where the top 1% of coin havers every season get their wealth redistributed,
which is amazing.
So like I was watching that happen, and yeah, they like super swung the election because what they were doing is they were going to other teams that they weren't part of and voting for things that team didn't want. So they were like, spending millions of coins on these votes. But luckily it was pretty obvious. So it sounds like the game ban just, got rid of all that.
Right. But it's interesting is because one thing that came out that I was fascinated by is they ended up having to break down what they consider to be good gameplay they want to encourage versus gameplay they want to prohibit. And it's something that honestly more game designs could stand to do to a degree.
Yeah.
And so talk about the fact that, like, obviously exploiting a bug to get millions of things to swing election is not what they intended. But strategically changing your team to get into that team and vote is absolutely part of the intended gameplay for as far as they are concerned.
Even like they call it fluting because it's a fair weather flute. even like fluting to other teams and voting for stuff isn't considered cheating. It's just doing it to that degree,
Right.
That they were upset about. Like if I wanted to go spend 30 votes on a rival's, stadium, I could do that.
Right.
But they don't want you to go spend 3,000 votes on that.
Right. And they absolutely encourage coordination. So like if you go to the Blaseball Discord, they have official team channels, and most of the teams also have their own spin-off Discords, which get into really deep in the weeds of planning and stat breakdowns. And okay, if we spend our votes up this way, we can get this benefit to try to do this thing. And it's a really impressive attempt to try to put order into chaos that I am both fascinated by and have no desire to participate in.
Yeah, no, like there's part of me that looks at Blaseball and it's like, this would be a really fun tabletop game. And there's part of me that's like, how would you even play this game? I don't know. Like it probably would be like a card game, like Flux or something, more than like an RPG, you know? Because yes, you have to constantly deal with like changing things and decrees, and one of the weather types you can play in is Black Hole. And then there's Sun and Sun 2. And they do different things.
Right. Coffee is a weather.
Yeah. So is birds. Which are good because they eat peanuts. Peanuts are a thing that happens. Some players are super allergic. I can't explain it. I could just sit here and like drop facts about Blaseball for an hour, and it would not make any more sense to anybody.
No, and to be fair, I've been playing, and I use that in quotes, since November, I think, and I still don't understand it. I enjoy it, but I don't understand it.
Who's your idol?
I forgot the name already. It was I had one on my team, and then I just did the math, and it's like, no, I need to find out the idol who's the most effective and just use them.
Wow, you're not a real fan.
No, I'm not. I am garbage.
I've had the same idol for months and months and months. And that is Nagomi Nava of the Hellmouth Sunbeams.
I think it's Nagomi. Yes. Sorry, I had Nagomi Daniel.
Yeah, but I like Nagomi Nava. Right, She's got too many eyes on one side of her face.
No, I
also tentacles.
Nagomi again, who's now apparently the Baltimore Crabs. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
A team switch had happened.
So either way, that has been our 15-minute digression about Blaseball.
Yeah, this is Baseball deep dive.
We've been talking about explaining this to Matthew on an episode, and we just realized that like it'll just be him being like, "What?" while we say these words. So instead, we thought we'd say these words directly at you. So go to blaseball.com if you want to play Blaseball, and talk to me about the Hellmouth Sunbeams, because they're the best team, and stomp on the Canada Moist Talkers.
Well, see, I mean, I as someone who's recently come over to the Moist Talkers, I can only point to their stellar records of winning actual championships.
We won season 11.
And how many seasons ago was that? That's forever ago.
This is the kind of rivalry that we have. It's It's not very vicious.
It's not,
because we're having a good time. We are all love Blaseball. We are all love the ticker.
The ticker is our friend.
So let's talk about some other stuff, because this is just a Dixie and Eddy hanging out episode.
Sure.
I said that, and then I got concerned for a second that I had said my own name wrong. So that's where I'm at today.
Welcome to 2021.
It is 2021. It's like 4 months into it.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't feel like it.
Is it just me, or does it feel like 2020 was like a million years long and 2021's been like 5 minutes?
Yeah, kind of. It also feels like we're still like in stasis from like 2020.
Oh no, this is definitely 2020 part 2 to a certain degree, but it's also the crappier sequel that got cut down for time.
Yeah, I can see that. Yep. Not great. Either way. We were going to talk a little bit about an actual work topic, which is editing of books and editing of freelance materials.
Speaking of cutting things down for time.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that segue that I definitely intended.
Absolutely.
Super intended. Yeah, so recently there's been some talk in the RPG world about writers' work getting edited or cut.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of nuances to this conversation that I have talked about with Eddy and talked about with some of my developers, and I try to talk about it kind of to the general public. And that is that the Ghost has an opinion. Ghost, I promise I won't edit your work. I'm sorry. Anyway, Ghost, stop it.
No, I have opinions about this. I am going to post on Facebook.
You don't have Facebook, Ghost.
Facebook.
I'm just gonna keep
That was very
laughing
sad.
every time it happens. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway. All right. So the thing about work for hire, which is what a lot of the RPG industry is if you're not publishing your own work, right?
Mhm.
Is that the company that contracts you owns the work.
Mhm.
So at that point, they have their, like, once they've paid you, they can do whatever they want with it. They can throw it in the garbage. Like, that's up to them. It's not great on various levels, but that's how freelancing works. You know, I could edit for a company and have them decide that my edits weren't good enough and then give it to another editor. Nothing I can do about that. That said, I think there's a difference between cutting someone's work or changing it a little bit or rewriting part of it, because that happens all the time, right? Like we rewrite parts of Exalted books fairly frequently because Eric and Vance have a very specific vision. I while editing have rewritten paragraphs because they were all in passive voice. And so I have completely rewritten the paragraph to be like, now it's his active voice. It's the same basic idea in the paragraph, but you know, now it reads better. But there's a difference between that and like introducing elements that are problematic or that the author wouldn't stand behind.
Right. And that's something that I know I've been trying to be better about over the past several years, even before the current discussion. It was something that I was like, oh, that lines up with where my head's been at.
Right.
Is it if I change something that it turns out I think makes the thing better, I will at least run it by the writer ahead of time. Legally speaking, I can do whatever I want with it, but I usually let them know, hey, this will make, for example, this commonly happens when I gender swap characters.
Right.
There have been times where people have sent stuff that's perfectly fine, but then I go, you know what, the dynamic isn't quite working out here. So like a random example from a game I'm working on is I got two NPCs. One was a military commander, one was a healer, and the military commander was male and the healer was female. And I was like, I'm just gonna switch these because that's been done a lot.
Yeah, that's stereotype.
Right. But if you switch them around, that becomes interesting. And I told the writer, and I was like, but it's very much this is what I'm doing, just so you know. I had another situation where we were putting together a book based, the tasty bits for Story Path involved pre-existing art, and so someone wrote up a character, but the art piece didn't line up, so I had to rewrite the character to fit the art that we actually had. I let the writer know, hey, by the way, I changed this, and there's a knock-on effect that I hadn't thought of, and so we did some last minute changes. But I don't mind doing that to a degree if we have time, if we have bandwidth. But also, there are times we cut material just because it doesn't fit in the space on the page. There's times in the layout where Mike's like, I need you to cut 100 words, and I've got to find 100 words to cut, and sometimes a writer's favorite thing gets cut, and it's not because it's malicious or anything nefarious. Sometimes I have to add words too. And sometimes we're lucky. One of the reasons why a lot of our better developers tend to also be writers is that they can do that last minute work and try to do things with relative precision.
Right.
To a recent example is the Adventure Kickstarter. At the time of recording, the first chapter went up, people were really raving about it. One of the things we're raving about is kind of the character blurbs as they comment on the setting chapter. And that was something Danielle added at the last minute because she needed to get the chapter into a certain shape, and that was the best way she could do to fix the problem. And so that's great. I've added a sidebar to Aberrant to fill in a gap, and people keep referencing a sidebar of like, oh, this is really great. So it's like sometimes that works out, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we put stuff in, or we make a change and it doesn't land right. That's one of the reasons why we do have that errata phase, to be able to kind of get people to say, hey, by the way, I don't know if you intended it this way, but this looks like blah.
Yeah, totally. So like there is definitely a level of trust with the company you're working with that I think is important, because one of my developers did come to me and kind of said like, hey, there's something that we should worry about, like with our freelancers, because we do change things frequently on certain game lines. And I said, I certainly hope not, because I hope they trust us that if we change anything, we're changing it for a reason or trying to make it better. We're not just arbitrary,
Right.
And I think that is where some of the nuance in the conversation recently has gotten a little lost. Is like, there's a fine line between like companies shouldn't change your work ever,
Right.
and like companies own your work so they can do whatever the hell they want with it. But there's a lot of gray area between that, which is like you should trust the company you're working with to handle your work respectfully.
Right.
And if they don't, then yeah, sure, you can talk about it. But like, I don't think I've ever edited somebody's work to be worse. That's not my job.
And I mean, part of the problem is I think also editors get a disproportionate amount of stick for sometimes not always their faults.
Mm.
Sometimes, like I mentioned before, we have to make changes pretty late in the game, and we don't always have time, or sometimes don't remember to loop Dixie in and say, "Hey, can you double check to make sure this works?" We've got to get this moving ahead, or
Mm.
what have you. And also, especially for like things like licensed games or games made by large companies, um, there may be decisions happening well above the developer's pay grade.
Oh yeah.
Um, certainly, although it's gotten a lot better. The early days of our relationship with Paradox, there was a lot of we need you to add large chunks of text, or we need to cut large chunks of text because it wasn't quite hitting their vision. Now that we're have a better sense what their vision is, and they trust us a lot more with what we're doing, it hasn't been a huge problem. Still, there's plenty of times where they'll come in and they'll sometimes pretty heavy red lines on our
Mm-hmm.
material to make sure it lines up with things that we don't even know about. They may be like they're lining up for another video game release or a TV show or a comic book or whatever. We don't
Yeah.
know anything about that, and they've got to make sure their stuff lines up, and they can't always tell us for NDA reasons why those changes are made.
That said, that wasn't like an announcement about a Paradox TV show. We
No, no,
literally
no,
don't know.
no. I am pulling shit out of my ass. It could be a T-shirt for all I know. Those are just examples.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Anyone to think that we like confirmed like
No. This line in Cults of the Blood Gods get cut off because it contradicts with our handbag line. No, I mean, it's...
I want to see a Cult of the Blood Gods handbag line.
See, right? I mean, it'd be great. But we've got to make sure it's canonically accurate. It's like handbags. But
Canonically accurate handbags is that would be a really good Blaseball team.
I was just saying that canonically accurate handbags is my Dead Milkman cover band.
Yeah, nope, I like that too.
But yeah, I mean, so it's like so there's lots of reasons why edits can change, and I think that in an ideal world, the developer will give you a heads up and say, here's what's going on. Again, with our process, we don't explicitly do that, but we do have an open errata phase, which a lot of our freelancers will get a copy of and put in comments. So that's a good time to say, hey, by the way, I see you edit this way. I didn't really intend that. And this happened a few times where the writers will actually put in their own errata on their own material.
Yeah, totally.
And that's great. We love that because sometimes, again, we didn't think that through, but sometimes also there's a reason why. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes those reasons aren't always easily understood. For example, and I mentioned this before on the podcast, but on Pirates of Pugmire, there was a small reference to rabbits that grew rapidly out of control.
You mean like rabbits do?
Or like rabbits, yes, exactly. I left that pause there for you. Because it's funny, but I didn't want to address rabbits, and there's lots of reasons why, and I gave very good reasons why, but really the reason was I don't want to deal with rabbits in that book. And
it's because you're anti-logomorph.
It's true. It's true. My stance on logomorph hatred is well known. But I mean, I need to make that call, and so I let the writers know I am cutting these references. And I had good reasons for them, but some of those were purely based on my creative vision for where Pugmire needs to go, and that was the main reason. Sometimes, you make a cut or you make a change because creatively you need to go in a certain direction. Most of those, in my experience, tend to be very small details, or just are usually handled before it hits the page. And again, usually if it's a substantial change, there's a meeting or a discussion or something. So it's rare the writer is just massively surprised by that, but it doesn't always happen. So there's a difference between the legal and moral needs for editing manuscripts, but you're absolutely right that it is not as simple as do/do not.
Yeah. There's a whole wide window in there. Like I've definitely been in the same boat as you, where Mike's come to me and said like, you need to cut 600 words off of this because Yes, Ghost, I know. Like, because it's flowing into the next chapter, or there's going to be too much white space on the final page, or whatever.
Mhm,
And so it's like, okay, I cut some stuff, and
mhm,
it's up to me to cut that stuff. And sometimes stuff gets cut that someone liked, and I'm sorry.
mhm,
I try,
right.
but that's all we can do is use our best judgment.
I do wanna kinda touch on a tangential thing, because we talk a lot about cutting right now, but I'm gonna be honest, there's this trope that's been happening in the community for decades now, honestly,
Mhm.
of this, "Oh, if only you had seen the cut material," the
Oh
Snyder cut
God,
is
yeah.
the Snyder cut of Justice League is bringing this conversation back up a lot, but, like, if you'd only seen the cut material, it would've been so much better. 95% of the time stuff we're cutting is either excess, or it's redundant, or it's a minor nuance, or something we want to rework and we expand on in a different book. You're really not missing stuff. Like, I had one person like, I want to see the unedited version of this thing, and I showed it to him. It's like, all you're missing is like a bunch of the word that, and
Yeah.
a lot of commas, and that's basically all you're missing. I don't know
Yep.
what you really expect to see after this.
Couple typos.
Yeah, I cut a few sentences because they said the exact same thing as the previous sentence.
Yep. Yeah. No, I have. I've definitely done that a few times where I'm like, oh, this sentence said the exact same thing 2 sentences ago, just with different words. So delete. Don't need it.
Right. Or it's contradictory. There's plenty of times where it's like I cut stuff because like, oh well, we actually say this but differently in a different place, and that place has it better. So let's just do that. In DRE, I did a lot of that. There was because I had a lot of team who were very excited about disability, and so they all wrote disability, which means we had 5 different sections that all talked about disability. I said, you really, really need one.
Hmm.
Let's make it the best one and put all the bits and pieces together into that one really great section. But we don't need to talk about this 5 different times.
You don't want your 5 disability sidebars? They'll all say the exact same thing.
No, they all say slightly different things that not only more or less say the same thing, but also mildly contradicting ways that would cause confusion down the road.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a thing that happens. Especially like Eddie said with like hot button topics.
Hmm.
Um, we write a lot of horror books, and so you'll get, 4 different authors writing about like consent
Yeah,
or how to, deal with this at the table or whatever. And it's like, okay, like
it's
we've
great.
like, yes, thank you for thinking about it, but we just need one.
Hmm.
Um, Granted, it occasionally makes sense to like back it up later for like some other scene, but you don't need the whole paragraph every single time.
No, that is much more of the it's one thing, and then give you a page XX back to the meatier topics so you can see more, and that's the kind of redundancy you want. You don't want to literally repeat it over again. And there's again lots of reasons why, but one of the big ones is people feel ripped off if they feel like they're reading the exact same thing over and over and over again, unless it's
Hmm.
the reason why they bought that book.
Would you buy a book that's just the same page over and over and over again?
Well, I mean, if they were all blank, I would, but
Nice, nice. What if they're lined
well,
with
that's
some
also
kind
good.
of grid?
The exact same lines would be great, yeah.
Okay, yes, I realize I just described journals or notebooks. Thank you. Thank you, Eddie. But yeah, no, that's a brief conversation about the editorial process and how it is, at least from my experience, it is never malicious. It
Yeah.
is always trying to make things better.
Mhm,
And if you do something and an author sees it and pushes back on it, we have a conversation.
mhm,
Whether the conversation is, sorry, we had to cut this for space, or whether the conversation is, no, you're right, we should change that back because I
yep.
see what you were doing now.
No, yeah, I mean, and certainly there have been writers who push back, and quite a few times I've been like, "Okay, you know what? You bring a valid point." I'm always open for a discussion, but, um, again, sometimes that discussion can't be had. Sometimes it's the "I can't tell you why" NDA prevents me from saying it.
Hmm.
But again, we're talking these are extremely rare circumstances. Most of the time, I'd say 95, 98% of the time, like Dixie says, the changes are always for the betterment of the manuscript, and those few edge cases are usually picked up in errata.
Yeah, like half of what I do when I'm editing is like adding a comma or getting rid of a comma splice or bolding a colon because there was a bold thing and the colon wasn't bolded, and I was like, oh, I have to fix this. Like, it is so mundane what I do. Like, I know that some people think of editors as like, sitting here making like all these comments and like having all this, feedback for the author and like rewriting things and everything's covered in red, and it's like a lot of what I do is like, oh, they didn't put spaces around an M dash. Like, here are some spaces for you.
This needs to be capitalized.
Yeah, it needs to be capitalized. So like the title of the book needs to be in bold or in italics or whatever. And it may look like a lot of red, but once you accept it all, half the time the paragraph seems completely unchanged. And that's it's my job. Yes, Ghost. I know. I know, buddy. You sound sad.
It is such a sad ghost.
It's okay, buddy. But yeah, so like half the time, once you accept my changes, it doesn't look different.
Yep.
Like, and that's really what it is. Because most of what I do is copy editing. It's not what we think of as like a fiction editors, where they are, talking to you about like story structure or continuity or whatever. Like, do I catch those things in fiction? Sure. But most of our fiction is like 3 standalone scenes, So
And also, a lot of what you're talking about is really what the developers should be doing. So that's why it was a good thing for us. I'm glad you brought it up because I think it's good for both to talk about it because we are looking at both sides of those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I've developed the one book for you, and I've seen the development process, and like, yeah, it is. You have a lot more input on story and things when you're at the development stage, the editing stage, because it's really. I assume that the developer has made it the way they want it once I get it for editing. And unless something like really jumps out at me, like, oh, you must not have known that this phrase is problematic. Because like that is the other thing is that I tend to assume good faith of everybody that I work with. So I assume that like if a problematic phrase or concept makes their way into a draft, I'm like, they just don't know. Or they didn't realize it or whatever. So let me just fix it and like leave a little comment that says, hey, just so you know, people don't use this phrase anymore and here's why.
As far as I know, that's always been the case. It's always been, oh shit, sorry.
Yeah. I have never had anybody be like, no, I absolutely have to use this phrase. It's like, no, you don't. You can just not do that. And yeah, people always just accept it. I've never had anyone push back and say like, I have to use this problematic phrase because it's part of my creative vision.
Right. And
granted, that is mostly with Onyx Path. I have had a couple of other companies where I pointed out something that I thought was a little weird and they didn't change it, but that's up to them. It's their prerogative. It's not my project.
Right.
But as far as my colleagues here go, everybody tends to listen to me.
It's good.
Which is nice.
Yep. Hooray.
Topics big and small. So how's the Transformers wiki?
Oh my god, the Transformers wiki. I don't know if we've talked about this, but if anybody here, even if you're not a fan of Transformers.
Yeah, I am not a fan of Transformers, but the Transformers wiki is amazing.
tfwiki.net is amazing. And for several reasons. First of all, it's just a genuinely well-maintained wiki. It is extremely comprehensive. It goes into some rabbit holes I, as a longtime Transformers fan, even don't always appreciate or understand. But the other thing is there is no group of fans in my experience that embody self-loathing the way that the TF Wiki does. They make fun of themselves so much. My favorite, which I've shared as a screenshot a couple times, is if you go to the Decepticon page. They have also tons of pictures, and the big part of it is they'll have captions for all the screenshots they want, and the captions are usually hysterical. But on the Decepticon page, they actually have the Decepticon logo, and the title under it, I don't remember exactly, but it's the effect of, if you get this tattooed, then people will love you as long as you wear a long trench coat and have a katana.
Yeah. I love going there and just clicking on random pages and looking at the captions. So I just did that live. I got to the page, the next best thing to being there. And the caption of this comic cover is, when there's no more room in hell, the Constructicons will walk the earth. And then there's another one that says, hey, do you remember the Constructicon robots? Like the green guy, the green and purple guy, and Square Mouth? it's just that kind of stuff where it's like, what the hell? And like, this is a comic from the 80s, I think.
Sounds
Yes,
about
this
right.
is a comic from July 23rd, 1985.
Oh my god.
And it's just a page that I landed on, and it was very funny. And so, like, you might occasionally land on pages that, you know, aren't really interesting. Like, they'll be like, you know, what one of the writers for Transformers, and it's like, yeah,
Right.
there's a lot of information on that person. But if you click it 2 or 3 times, you will definitely find something funny.
Right. And then there are some of the disambiguation pages, which are amazing. The one I usually point people to is Ruined Forever. Because it talks about how Transformers, even though it's been around for over 30 years and is a multi-million franchise, what Hasbro does not realize is that it is actually as fragile as paper towel wrapped around 2 bricks that could be ripped apart in any moment due to their terrible creative decisions.
Which feels a lot like the RPG community.
Right. It really does. The hyperbole they put into that, and then the links they reference to online discussions that have been going on since the 90s by Transformers fans feel very similar to some of the RPG industry. And so it's refreshing to see people recognizing it's like, we're kind of dumb. But there are subpages of this, like when Beast Wars came out and Optimus Prime became Optimus Primal, there was an infamous meme called Truck Not Monkey, where people, yes, because people on Usenet would, in all caps, talk about how Optimus Prime is a truck and not a monkey, and so therefore it became Truck Not Monkey. And Truck Not Monkey became kind of a rallying cry for Transformers fans who refuse to change for any reason. So it's even funnier when it's applied to Transformers decisions that have nothing to do with Optimus Prime or Beast Wars. And it's like, why are we talking about monkeys right now? What? That's not just robots? And then, but the other one is that's more of a real world car crash is the history of Dreamwave Productions, which were the first non-Marvel company to get the Transformers comic book license. And it is a trash fire of a story. The owner of the company is not a very good artist. Squandered all of the company's money, just refused to pay the artists, and then will brag about it in like Wizard magazine and stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's a horrible person. And it's like some very seminal writers and artists got shafted by this guy. And so a bunch of them went over to a new company called IDW, which is now had license for over 20 years, and they do amazing Transformers comics.
It was funny hearing you say a new company called IDW, because I'm like, new company?
It was new at the time.
No, I know.
Yes. And it was frustrating because Dreamwave did actually do some really good, interesting stuff. A lot of their stuff is enshrined bits of Transformers canon, but it's just garbage company. And so occasionally the wiki tries to do this kind of attempts to be objective, but they realize pretty quickly that this is dumb because we're talking about toys. And so they just really just lean into, okay, but this is dumb. And one of the things they talk about a lot is they're vicious about the people who are behind the scenes of that company, and they are relatively unapologetic about it. So it's funny because if you don't have all of this context, it seems like it's just a mean-spirited website. But you have to realize that the people who would spend the time and effort to maintain Transformers' website are exactly the kinds of people they're talking about. They're never mean-spirited, except for Dreamwave. They're never really mean-spirited towards Hasbro or the license holders. They'll occasionally snark about a comic book being late or whatever, but I mean, it's generally like, or a toy looking a little weird. But it usually, yeah, but if they're talking about actual fans and fan reactions things, oh my god, it gets vicious.
But also, like, it's a community of people who are very aware that they are adults talking about a cartoon that was made to sell toys.
Right, exactly.
And toys in general. I have found my new favorite page, by the way. I've been clicking random page this whole time.
Okay.
There's a page called Design Flaw.
Oh no.
That talks about all the toys that had design flaws. And it has subcategories like retractable thighs that says that things like Generation 2 Laser Optimus Prime has a massively heavy upper body and weak knees. It's common for him to just collapse into Stumptimus Prime. There's a breakable joints.
Does it have gold plastic syndrome?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What's that?
Gold plastic syndrome is a entirely separate page where the earlier molds, if it was molded in gold, it would just dissolve. The gold plastic would just dissolve on the toy.
Good, great.
Yeah.
No, it's got a strong spring, weak peg, wear-based looseness, clipping issues, parts breaking off other parts, common breakage points. You know, just in general.
It's, again, they are very in-depth, especially if you look at the original cartoon episode
Inferior
pages.
glue.
Inferior glue, yes.
Inferior glue, so sad.
They'll have like long lists of the animation errors.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and they're just comprehensive.
But like, I am not a Transformers fan. I don't know if I've ever even seen an episode of Transformers. I've never owned a Transformer. I know my like cousin had some when I was a kid, but like as a small person who was socialized as a girl, like I was like, yeah, they're truck boy trucks for boys.
Right.
Yes, Ghost. I know you love Transformers, but
it's not just for boys.
It's also for ghosts.
There was actually a Ghostbuster Transformers crossover. Continue.
I actually knew about that one.
Cool.
But yeah, so I love the Transformers wiki. Like, I could get lost on that wiki for hours just reading random shit.
And I mean, obviously we bring it up for obvious reasons because I'm a huge fan, but that's one thing I actually like doing is going to fandoms that I know nothing about and occasionally digging in. Partially because it gives me context for our job, right? Stuff that seems really, really important to us. If you go into, like, say, the Power Rangers fandom, which I did a few years ago, and it's like, wow, they are caring about things I have no idea what's going on, but man, they're really angry about it. And they're really, that's probably what we sound like to people who are just casual RPG fans. And sometimes I'll get into communities and find I really have a lot of fun. Like, one of the ones that I hang out with is a fan translation community. I came in originally because they did a Sherlock Holmes Ace Attorney translation. I'm like, well, of course, I'm going to be a part of this. But I've since, talked to some other games that I probably will never play, but they did some really interesting discussions about localization and what the intent of what is. And they go into, again, really deep rabbit holes of like, okay, well, there's this article by the original game designer that was done in this magazine in 2005 that I managed to get a copy of. And while originally most people translate it this way, I've actually looked at the text and it could be also translated this way, which gives a whole new spin on this other thing. And it's like, this is really interesting. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's really cool. It's really exciting to see people really enthused about a topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like I am all for just people being passionate about something. Like I think it's cool to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like if it's Transformers, that's cool. Like I am all about Eddie going off and to tell you about random Transformers things, or linking me to random pages and being like, read this, it's hilarious.
Right.
Even without any context, the wiki has enough going on for it.
I remember it started because we were talking about bat-based Transformers, and I only knew of two, and you found a third one. And I was like, what? Oh, there's another one I didn't know about. So
Bat Transformers, the only ones I care about.
It's true. One of which is a fuel auditor, which is the most exciting.
I love that one though. He had a whole like weird arc.
Rat Bat, yes.
Wasn't that the one who like made the car wash that like?
Yep, the car wash of doom.
Yeah, the car wash of doom. I freaking love that. I can't. I like it too much. So we've got about 15 minutes left. One of the other topics I had talked about as chatting about was a little bit about like disability and being neurotypical and stuff and working.
Okay.
Because we did like a fun topic, then a serious topic, then a fun topic, then one more serious topic, and then we can wrap it up.
Good.
So I know that I have ADHD with a bunch of comorbidities, and so figuring out coping mechanisms for that, for especially keeping yourself motivated to work from home, can be really rough.
Mm-hmm.
I was very recently I have stumbled across the incredibly novel idea of putting a post-it note on my computer monitor, which is so silly and so easy, and people have been doing it for decades. But I hate notifications. Like I have to clear notifications as soon as they happen.
Yeah.
So if I have a bright red square literally on my monitor, that's a notification, and I hate it, and so I have to clear it. And it's such a silly thing. Like I've tried so many productivity aids, but the issue with like Trello, for instance, is that I can just not go to that website.
Right.
And then it goes right out of my brain. Like out of sight, out of mind is a really big thing for people that have ADHD. We have to have it like in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
That is why our fridges get gross after a while. It's because
Right.
it's really easy to just be like, oh, there's something in the back of the fridge. I couldn't even see it. So it didn't exist anymore. Or, oh, I put that thing in a drawer 2 months ago. So it no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue that I've had with various productivity aids is that like I have to seek them out. And so after a while, I just kind of stop seeking them out.
Right.
I am on medication for this now, which is also helping. But honestly, yes, Ghost, thank you. You're very helpful. But honestly, the Post-it note thing has been weirdly a game changer.
No, totally.
And it's so silly, but it works.
Well, I mean, also, first of all, I mean, I don't think any productivity aid is silly. It may feel like it when you first start doing it.
True, yeah.
But I mean, if it works, it doesn't matter. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, no, I guess it just feels like such an easy solution compared to everything else I've tried, which is like Pomodoro method, Trello, like all this, tech stuff. And then I was like Post-it notes. That's where it's at for me.
Well, you know what? Yeah, but at the same time, like I for years I would struggle to try to pay attention in meetings because my brain would keep just wandering off. I started thinking about other things. And then finally, I started bringing notepads to meetings so I could write down the things I would think of so I wouldn't lose them. And then I just started writing down the notes of the meeting, and suddenly my ability to pay attention to the meeting skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just write down what's happening in the meeting. And again, people have been doing it for decades, perhaps centuries. But I mean, it was novel at the time. So I mean, if it was easy, it would have been done already. It's not that it's easy; it's just that you discover it. But no, my wife Michelle, so she's a massive. I mean, her job literally is to help organize software teams. I mean, she thinks a lot about this, but she has a wall full of Post-it notes, and she moves those Post-it notes around. So basically, it's just like my Trello board, except for she has those physical things. Because same thing, if she doesn't see it there, it goes out of her head. Whereas I had a whiteboard for 2 years in my office, and I realized recently I almost never use this thing, so I just got rid of it. It's like I work better because I like to have the process of go in, look at the board, spend my day looking at it, and then shut it down and not think about it anymore. So I'm wired differently in that front.
Well, yeah, but like that's the Post-it notes. Like once I do my Post-it tasks, it goes in the garbage.
Right.
And I'm like, ha!
And that's satisfying. Absolutely.
It truly, truly is. I'm a big fan.
And there have been times where and that's the thing is also productivity shouldn't always be, you don't find one method and that will be the way it is forever. It's constantly evolving. And there have been times where I've just been really swamped or really struggling to get things going. And I will change it up. There was a while where I went to Post-its on the board because I was just so swamped with work. And so every time I looked at the Trello board, it just looked like a big blob of cards. And so I took a few tasks off of that and put them on my wall. And it's like, I'm just going to look at Trello from my wall is going to guide me for a while. And until I peeled all those sticky notes off, and then it felt satisfying. It's like I pulled all those off, and now I can go back and approach this other thing because the way that I do my Trello board, at least, it's always generating cards. That's by design.
Yeah, see, and that's part of what I didn't like about it was that it made me feel like nothing ever got done because there were always new things popping up or things that like never went away.
Right.
And I was like, nope, don't like this. It's overwhelming. So different things work for different people.
Absolutely. And I think it's good that you recognize this and are able to say, okay, this is what's not working for me. Let me find a new way to change that. And I think it's kind of where disability can kind of come into that is because let's be honest, if you're disabled, you figure out a way to cope because no one else is going to help you. That's a pretty common disability story. So your life is finding coping mechanisms to navigate. And I think that's maybe part of why I kind of became embarrassed. Because again, like, go back to my original point about meetings. Part of it was I couldn't hear what was happening in the meeting. And that was why it made it so hard for me to pay attention. Because it's like, what for most able-bodied people was an hour meeting. You go in, have a nice talk, go back, and you go back to work. For me, it was exhausting. Because I had to pay attention to every single person and what they were saying and make sure I heard them correctly. And then while I'm doing that, I'm also trying to think of what they're being said and make sure that I'm thinking of my answers to questions or my thoughts and concerns, all while also just making sure I'm still abreast of the actual ongoing conversation. And so by being able to write it down, I realized I didn't have to pay attention to every single word. I was getting just the high
Mm-hmm.
points in the words, and also helped train me to listen to the right words at the right times, and also being more okay with saying, "Hey, you're going real fast here. What'd you say again?" Because if I'm writing it down, people are more inclined to repeat themselves than they're more frustrated when you repeat yourself if you ask them because you're hearing loss, but not if you're writing it down. It's
Mm-hmm.
weird, but that's how people work.
That
So
is
yeah,
weird, but yeah, I guess.
but I mean, think about it. If someone's writing something down and say, "Hey, could you repeat that?" You're not really that irritated,
I mean, I'm not
unless
irritated in general if someone wants me to, repeat something I said. I talk very fast.
maybe you're not the best example. But the average person, if you ask them to repeat themselves 2 or 3 times, if it's just from hearing loss, they get very frustrated.
Yeah.
If it's from writing down, it's like, "Oh, well, of course, I went too fast. Let me go back and cover that again."
Yeah, I mean, I also just know you, and
Sure, right.
like getting mad at you asking me to repeat myself would be really rude. Like, I mean, that's if you have a friend with any kind of disability that you're aware of, right?
Mhm,
And you can accommodate it without like pointing it out constantly, that is a really nice thing you can do.
mhm,
Like I have certain sounds I can't deal with, so if somebody like walks me away from that sound, that's nice.
mhm,
Um Whenever we go out to eat at cons, I always ask Eddie where to sit, like where
mhm,
he wants to sit,
mhm,
because his hearing loss is kind of specific, and if we're in like
mhm,
a loud restaurant, I want to give him that choice.
mhm.
And it's not like I'm sitting there being like, "Hey, I know you can't hear well, so please pick your seat." Like I let them sit somewhere first. It's really
Right.
easy, because he knows where to sit so that he can best hear people at the table.
Mhm,
And so, like, doing accommodations like that is not hard. And it's just something that's, I think, helpful for navigating the world as a decent person.
I agree, but I think, to kind of turn it back around to you,
Mhm.
I think it is a lot muddier when you're trying to accommodate neuroatypical people.
Oh, definitely. And it depends on what they're dealing with. Like, I
Mhm,
have friends with autism who, like, I just need to be very plain when I speak to them,
right.
because they don't always get all the nuance, which is fine. That's just how their brains work.
Mhm,
And so I try to speak very plainly, very directly, say what's on my mind, etc. And also not get, being Southern, I was raised to, not be super blunt, even though I've
right,
gotten over that a lot as an adult, but like also to not get offended if they're blunt to me.
right.
Um, yeah, no, mine, I don't need many accommodations, honestly. Like, my biggest thing is like whispering sounds, chewing sounds, stuff like that really gets to me.
Mhm,
So, like, if I'm on a call with you, for instance, I'd rather
mhm,
you didn't eat with your mic
right.
on.
Yeah.
I know some people are fine with that. Like, I have people that have like lunch meetings on Zoom, and I'm like,
Mhm,
I can't listen to someone chewing. Crunching is fine. Chewing is not. It's a whole thing. It's very strange. I don't know how my brain works, but that's how it is.
mhm,
So like little stuff like that is really all I ever need for the most part. Or just like, but when it comes to work, occasional reminders are very helpful, because,
mhm,
as I was just saying, sometimes something falls off my plate and I forget about it.
mhm,
It's not willful. I'm not ignoring it. I've literally forgotten it exists.
mhm.
And it's something like, we use a program called ClickUp, and there were a couple times when something went into editing but didn't get assigned to me.
Yep.
So I forgot it existed because
Mhm,
it wasn't on my list. And if
mhm.
it's not on my list, it's not my project, right?
Right.
Even if it's technically in editing and I should be giving it to an editor.
Mhm,
So little stuff like that, like just making sure that like I am aware of what's expected of me. Because I'm not good at gauging that myself. And
mhm.
also, I'm probably never like willfully ignoring something. I probably literally just forgot it exists.
Right. Yeah, and I know over time, like you said, like you've been trying to accommodate with me when we're in same space. I've also, learned these things about you and say, okay, well, I'll just, occasionally if I don't hear from you a couple of days, I'll just poke you and say, hey, by the way, did you get a chance to look at this? Or like I said, I'm trying to remember to add you to click up on things I need you to
Yeah.
do because that process has been working for you. So yeah, I mean, with physically disabled folks, especially with physical disabilities, it seems like, oh, well, it should be pretty obvious what you do. But that's also, I don't think, necessarily the case. Sometimes uh, wheelchairs, for example, do not push someone's wheelchair without
Oh
their
my
consent
god, don't
first.
do that. That's creepy.
But a lot of able-bodied people think they're helping.
Also, like, don't like hold the door for somebody unless they like seem to need you to or ask you to, because that is something that I've seen a lot of my disabled friends get annoyed about. Is they're like, we know how doors work, like we can get through doors. I've been doing this my whole life, you know?
Right.
Like,
And if you're opening a door, then what you're doing is basically shining attention on their disability.
or like telling them they have to walk faster, or
Right.
roll faster, or what
Right.
have you. Like that's not always helpful either. So yeah, like if someone at the grocery store in a wheelchair is like, can you get that thing for me? Sure, I'll do that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I can do that, no problem. But if they don't ask, I assume they have it figured out because they've been living in that body. You know?
I've walked behind people with mobility disabilities, and I slow down, and I just, slow my pace. And if they look back and apologize, I'll just like, don't worry about it. Don't take your time. But otherwise, I don't mention anything. So this goes back to my point is that obviously, yes, try to accommodate your disabled friends, neurotypical friends, but also ask them first what kind of accommodation is, or have a conversation with them to find out what kind of accommodations they need. Because sometimes not only does your attempt to help not useful, but can actually be problematic and harmful.
Yeah, it can be like at the very least, it can be a microaggression.
Right.
That they probably deal with all the time from strangers, and therefore definitely don't need from their friends. Like I said, the whole reason I brought Eddie up is because we are friends.
Right.
So like I know to walk on his right side when we're walking together, because that's where his hearing aid is. And so if we're like walking around, for instance, Dragon Con, like we were in 2019, and it's incredibly loud, and there's a million people, and we're walking side by side, so you can't really like look at my face the whole time, then I need to be on a specific side of you.
Yep.
And it's really easy to do without like it being a big deal.
And also, but like people are gonna fuck up and forget. This is the same thing of like, pronouns. It's like if you fuck up, just correct
and move on.
Apologize briefly if you need to. Sorry, I meant blah, and then move on. Because the change and the recognition of your mistake means more than us. We'll be more accepting of the fact that you made a change than dwelling on your mistake. Believe me.
Yeah, and also if you make a really huge deal of it, like I see people do this with pronouns, for instance, where they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean, and then you're putting the onus on the person to forgive you,
right?
And you're making it about you when it's not about you. Like, just correct and move on. I have done it. I have friends that have done it. I have quite a few trans friends, and sometimes you just slip up, and that's fine. It happens, but correct yourself. And try to do it ever again in the future, because it does suck to get someone's pronouns wrong. But
right, but I mean, again, it's something. If you're trying to be accommodating to anybody for whatever reason, just try to keep an open conversation. But also, once you know what you should be doing, just try to keep doing it. And we're all human. We're all learning. One thing I will say about 2020 that has been good is that I at least have gotten a lot more tolerant of people fucking up. Because we were all fucking up for 2020.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to carry that forward. Even though, like I said, we're not quite out of it yet, but still, it's like I'm trying to carry that forward. It's like, okay, you know what? If people stumble or make a mistake, just kind of, you know what? Cool, let's just move on.
Yeah. Well, we have hit time. We have talked about a bunch of random things.
Useful things, and also Blaseball.
And also the Transformers wiki, and also my ghost.
No. The Transformers wiki is very useful. I know what you're talking about.
Well, in that case, so is my ghost. So yeah, useful things.
The ghost is also useful. No, the ghost was the best third host. I mean, I think we should actually fire Matthew and make the ghost the third host.
The ghost host, like in the Haunted Mansion in Disney.
Yes,
I'm your ghost host.
The ghost with the most.
That's Beetlejuice.
Oh, right, that's true.
That's a different person. That said, we do have the Adventure Kickstarter, Trinity Adventure, going on right now.
Yes.
We will link to that in the show notes. I am very excited about it. We are recording this a little early. So I will say that in the first less than a day, it made well over its goal. And it
3.5 hours to hit 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's at 50,000 or 52,000 at the time of recording. So
Very exciting.
yay. Hope this will keep going up. It is our, pulp 1930s. We talked about it on the Pathcast recently. Very cool game that I'm super excited about. I was looking at the original adventure last night, doing some conversations about it, and I love how the original one was laid out, where it looked like an actual magazine.
Yeah.
Like the choice to put the credits at the end was really cool because it made it look like an actual like pulp novel type thing. So yeah, no, I'm excited for this.
And that was all Rich. That was definitely a labor of love from Rich, and it definitely holds up.
Yeah, no, it's a gorgeous game. So, well, if people want to talk to you about Adventure, the Transformers Wiki, Blaseball, or accommodations, where can they find you, Eddy?
So about that,
yeah,
I have deleted my Facebook, or sorry, deactivated my Facebook. So I'm not currently using it, and I don't know if the time this goes up, I'll be using it again. Because honestly, it's been at this time not using it for about a week, and I kind of like it. So I will say, I'm still. If you go to puckstay.com, there's a contact me form. You could use that. And I'm still currently using Twitter, so that's still a way to get a hold of me. But I don't know. I'm more and more thinking that maybe I should just be off social media entirely for a bit. I'm still mulling it over.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Like maybe, but there are some people I only talk to on there, and like some groups I'm in that I actually really like interacting with. So I almost wish that I could turn it off aside from like 3 groups that I'm in.
That's something else I've been debating doing is maybe just really ramping down at least my Facebook to like just 20 or 30 people kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. I can see that. Because like I'm into these discords too. I have people there. Like I only check Facebook like a couple times a day, if that. Like I'm not on it constantly, but I do check it a couple times a day, and that's something that I don't need to be doing.
And that's the thing is, like, honestly, Discord has been filling more of the role of what I want social media to do. Is that I can pick my communities, I can, mute channels, and so it's a very kind of, for me, compartmentalized social media experience. So I can have the conversations I want to have with people I want to have them with, which social media just doesn't really allow me to do.
Yeah, totally. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Dixie Cyanide. You didn't actually say your Twitter handle, Eddy. You just said you can find me on Twitter, but find him.
Figure it out.
He's around.
It's Pugsteady. It's just like Pugsteady.com.
You can find us at the onyxpath.com, the Onyx Path on most social media. And as always, many worlds, one podcast.
Well, speaking of learning things, I had a bit of a rant on social media yesterday, and I'm going to share it here as well.
Okay.
So, the first few minutes of what I'm talking about, I'm really going to sell you on something, and then I'm going to drag the rug out from underneath your feet and make you wish I hadn't wasted a few minutes of your life. My anecdotes typically follow this trajectory. That's it. Get comfortable, Dixie.
All right.
So, my Netflix is currently bombarding me with East Asian dramas, mostly South Korean and Japanese.
Right, because you've been watching those, right?
Exactly. So it now knows that along with children's TV, which my son watches, all I want to watch is TV shows about East Asia. And one of the ones made for Netflix that popped up was a TV show by the name of Vincenzo. And I thought, that's an interesting name for a South Korean drama. And it gave a brief blurb about how it's a story of a half Italian, half South Korean man who escapes the mob and sets up back in South Korea. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. I like The Godfather. I like Goodfellas. I'm a fan of criminal dramas. So let's give this a whirl. And there are a few shows that have hooked me so swiftly. I started watching it, and this is only spoilers for the first 20 minutes of the show, and if anything, this might entice you. In fact, the Netflix trailer probably has this very thing. I always skip those, though. So, It starts with the eponymous Vincenzo, a consigliere of an Italian mafia family, making his way in a sleek car to the, I guess, olive grove plantation of a rival mafia don. He makes his way in. Occasionally you see the pesticide spraying biplane going by over the head, making sure the olive groves are kept healthy. He goes to the rival mafia don, who is clearly a slob, greasily eating with his fingers, and Vincenzo makes it clear that not only has his father died, who is our mafia don, but this rival mafia don probably had something to do with it. Vincenzo says, I would still like to offer you the deal, and the rival don says, why would I take you up on your deal? You have nothing to offer me now that your father is dead. I have no respect for you, you half South Korean. And it's all very dramatic. And our protagonist, he makes another offer. He says, really, I must insist. The mafia don pretty much spits on his shoes and says, get off my property. And once again, you see the biplane flying over. He says, I'm going to give you one last chance. The mafia don turns his back on him, metaphorically, if not literally. And so Vincenzo walks away. At that point, the biplane flies over the big compound and sprays the people in it, and the mafia don realizes, that's not my pesticide sprayer, that plane's spraying gasoline over my olive grove, and now over my house. Vincenzo, as he's walking away from the compound, opens his Zippo, throws it back, boom! The olive grove becomes an inferno of flame rippling across the fields towards the mafia don's house. It's dramatic, it's taut, it's finely shot, it's brilliantly written. The acting is superb. It's a fantastic opener to a TV show. He then goes back to his family home in Rome or some other Italian city, it never makes it clear, where you meet his full-blooded Italian brother, who is now the don of the family. They're at the wake of their father. His brother says, I don't like you, Vincenzo. And Vincenzo says, I know, but I have no respect for you. So there's tension there. Vincenzo goes back to his apartment. Assassins come to meet him and try and kill him. Sent by his brother, he overpowers them, and he leaves a message for his brother saying, I'm leaving Italy. Don't try and find me. If you do, if you do, you're dead. And so he gets into a first-class jet, drinks some champagne, flies off towards South Korea. All of this within the first 20 minutes. I'm sure you can agree that this is a brilliantly constructed introduction to a TV show.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah. At which point it cuts to two South Korean airport workers supported by a background quacking comedy soundtrack, sort of going... And they're doing a Three Stooges-like routine of slapping each other on the head, tripping over custard pies in the face. And these are clearly two very wacky, funny, silly individuals. And the tone of the TV show at this point veers in such a dramatic way, I felt like it did give me whiplash or a stroke, because my face dropped and I felt the revulsion boiling up inside me. I felt betrayed by this TV show I was watching, like I had been led down this merry path of The Godfather meets South Korea, which is... I love South Korean drama, and all of a sudden they'd inserted screwball slapstick comedy into it. From nowhere. There was no signposting of this. And I have never felt so utterly appalled by a tonal shift in a TV show that I switched it off and watched something else.
Okay, so I have several points to make right now.
Go for it.
One, Vincenzo is listed as a dark comedy on Wikipedia.
Well, there should be a slash or a stroke between dark and comedy there.
Okay, two, it is the 15th highest rated drama in Korean cable history. And 3, every single episode that has premiered up to now has held the #1 spot on broadcasting.
Well, all you listeners in South Korea who support our Pathcast, there are better... Yeah, your taste sucks.
Wow, stop that.
No, I'm sure your taste is fantastic and it just doesn't jive with mine. But I really felt watching this that that dark comedy shift, because I saw it said dark comedy as well, and I assumed there would just be some sort of pithy one-liners whenever he brutalized somebody, something like that. But this was dark as in bloody murder, contrasted against people slipping up to comedy whoop sort of sound effects and squeezing someone's nose. So yeah, if this sells you on Vincenzo, please do check it out and leave your comments on your thoughts.
I want to come watch it, but not turn it off immediately when it changes tone to see what happens after that, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious how it marries the two. And if it does so well, which based on the viewership it might, you know, could be great.
Well, I appreciate you advocating for the show. It doesn't sound like it needs an advocate, Dixie, but I will give it another try. So the next time we all record together, I will give you my review of the second half of episode 1. Maybe it will recover face. After all, that many million South Koreans can't be wrong.
Literally 15th highest rated cable show in their history of South Korea. That's huge. Thank you, Pathcast listeners, for sticking with us this far on what was kind of a strange, disjointed episode. If you're listening to this on Friday, the day it comes out, you have made it to the part where I tell you that it is actually my birthday today. So feel free to hop on Twitter and wish me happy birthday. Yeah, I took the day off work. It's pretty great. They left me alone with a microphone and the editing software, and they really just shouldn't have done that, because now I can do whatever I want to this episode. Like, I could just record my cat purring if I wanted, stick it on the end, get some more ghost sounds, just some weird experimental music. I don't know. What do y'all think I should do?